It's been a turbulent 24 hours for BA493 passengers. The flight was originally scheduled to take off at 4:45 p.m. yesterday, but GBC understands the co-pilot announced to passengers that some tape had come off the plane and required the attention of an engineer. Passengers had to await the arrival of an engineer from Malaga. After boarding the plane more than 2 hours later, passengers were told the engineer had discovered a further problem on the plane and that the flight would be a risk if it were to take off without this being fixed. 30 minutes later, the engineer is believed to have given the all clear, and the flight departed at 7:42 p.m. However, upon reaching French airspace, the plane was diverted to Nantes. Passengers told GBC this was later found to be because of fumes in the cockpit. It reportedly forced pilots to wear oxygen masks.
We were told that we were going to have an emergency landing, and that was due to fumes in the cockpit, which we didn't know about at the time, but it was pretty scary stuff. Definitely not something that I would want to do again. And so we had an emergency landing in France. And to be fair, BA have been really, really helpful. They've put us up in hotels and organised transport for us.
They kept us out of the loop, and that was probably, the scariest bit, especially approaching a landing, not knowing what's going on, into turbulence. It was quite scary and quite intense. Once we got down there, we were met by the fire brigade, who quickly rushed up into the cockpit. And a minute later, the pilot announced that there were some fumes in the cockpit and that they had oxygen masks on, hence why they couldn't tell us what was going on.
As a Gibraltarian studying and working in the UK, my annual leave days are very limited and I don't get to see my family often. So the emergency landing and extra travel day has had to be removed from my annual leave, which in theory isn't that big of a deal. But considering the fact that I have limited days to spend at home, it's not great. There was a friend on the flight as well that had a connecting flight to South America this evening and didn't have the time to wait for British Airways to take us to Heathrow. So he had to buy a new flight with a different airline in order to make his connecting flight. There was other people on board who had made a quick trip to Gibraltar and were concerned once we landed because they didn't have a visa to be in France. All in all, I'm exhausted, but I'm relieved it's over.
Some passengers explain their impressions of the repair process.
The whole process really from start to finish we felt was really rushed. So after you hit a 3-hour mark, being delayed for over 3 hours, you can claim compensation from an airline. And we felt that the crew, the engineer, the staff at the airport were really trying to rush us to try and get us on this flight under 3 hours, so that we didn't have the opportunity to claim. So all these issues that were being uncovered by the engineer, were they being fixed but rushed quickly, like with the whole process was very much like go, go, go. We have to be on the air under 3 hours.
The government has stressed no aircraft is allowed to fly if it is not fit to fly. BA has not commented on whether the repairs at the airport were linked to the technical issue behind the emergency landing. Passengers were provided hotel accommodation overnight and a Nantes Heathrow flight left France at around 2 p.m. today. 22 hours later, passengers have finally made it to their destination.